In light of the recent comments by Pope Francis at his homilies where he compared those of us asking for answers to the accusations laid out by Vigano in his testimony to the devil, it's become abundantly clear that little change will come in the church without the work of the laity. Yes, Cardinal Wuerl did announce that he was heading to Rome to discuss his resignation with the Holy Father, which in my mind vindicates church militants' claim about Wuerl and the Vatican preparing asylum for him in Rome to dodge federal investigations, but that's a topic for another time. There's a tone deafness about this entire issue from the upper echelons of the hierarchy, as well as from the people in the Catholic media who have either decided to side with Pope Francis regardless of the veracity of the claims against him, or at the very least refuse to even look into those claims at all, probably out of fear of what they will find. The crisis has been cast by many as a struggle between a left and right in the church, though from what I've seen it's a struggle against Catholics who want the truth and those who will defend the response by the Vatican at seemingly all costs. It's certainly a dark time for the church, perhaps one that is unprecedented. Yes, there have been periods where heresy ruled, like in the Arian crisis, when potentially 90% of the bishops were Arian heretics. Yet even in those days, the heresies of the day did not fully swallow up the papacy. Regardless of how you feel about Pope Francis, Cardinal Cupich, or Wuerl, or any of the others, keep them in your prayers. They need it, and frankly, those prayers will help keep you from losing your own souls in this crisis. As I mentioned, Cardinal Wuerl is headed to Rome to meet with Pope Francis to discuss his resignation. His letter reads as follows. September 11th, 2018. Dear Brother Priest, on Monday, September 3rd, prior to our annual Labor Day gathering, we had an opportunity to pray together and, as I was asked by our Holy Father, Pope Francis, to discern the best course of action for me to pursue as we face new revelations of the extent of the horror of the clergy abuse of children and the failures in episcopal oversight. At issue is how to begin effectively to bring a new level of healing to survivors who have personally suffered so much, and to the faithful entrusted to our care who have also been wounded by the shame of these terrible actions and have questions about their bishop's ability to provide the necessary leadership. It was clear that some decision, sooner rather than later, on my part is an essential aspect so that this archdiocesan church we all love can move forward. As a fruit of our discernment, I intend in the very near future to go to Rome to meet with our Holy Father about the resignation I presented nearly 3 years ago, November 12, 2015. Our discernment here, I believe, has indicated the way forward to bring healing and a new beginning at the service of this church. I am particularly grateful for your patience and respect for this time of discernment. I ask you please to include me in your prayers. Faithfully in Christ, Donald Cardinal Wuerl, Archbishop of Washington. This is a good sign, regardless of whatever may be his motivations. If the reporters at Church Militant are correct, then don't be surprised if a federal investigation does come in some form or another, and if Wuerl flees to Rome to avoid extradition. And there is the issue of who Wuerl's successor will be, because Pope Francis gets to pick his replacement. The chances of that replacement not being a viper are slim in my mind. It's a truly sad state of the church when the laity cannot trust their shepherds anymore, but that is where we are. Heresy abounds, but remember, grace abounds more. Keep your eyes on the cross of Christ. Wuerl's resignation will have an interesting impact on the coming annual meeting of the U.S. bishops in November, which this year will be in Baltimore from November 13th to the 15th. There are already protests planned for the gathering. These protests have been called the Silence Stops Now gathering. It's being organized by several alternative Catholic media and advocacy organizations, Church Militant included. I will let Michael Voris explain more.
Hello, everyone. A groundswell is developing among faithful Catholics who are fed up with the silence, the conspiracy, the lies from the bishops over the danger of predatory clergy, including the bishops. Too many are denying they knew anything. Too many are ducking the real issue of homosexuality within their own ranks. Too many are calling for nothing more than new policies. Zero accountability. And now news that the cardinals and bishops are talking about investigating themselves. And that's the final straw for many Catholics. The American hierarchy has broken trust with the faithful, and the faithful need to be heard. So talk is beginning among Catholics around the country about holding a massive rally at the bishop's next meeting in Baltimore, scheduled for November 12th through the 15th. Now, right now, all of this is in the very early stages of planning and discussion. But what organizers first need to gauge is any potential crowd size. So we've been asked by some of these coalition organizers to put out feelers for them and see if you would seriously consider attending this. The exact date or dates for the rally aren't settled yet, but it would definitely be within that range of November 12th to the 15th. So if you would seriously consider attending, just answer the couple of questions on this page. We can get a working estimate of the crowd size. We can tell you the title of the event, the Silence Stops Now Rally. So please share this with any friends and family, faithful Catholics who love Holy Mother Church and want to send a message to the bishops loud and clear, the silence stops now. Please pray and consider this, and sign up if you are reasonably certain that you'd be able to attend. God love you.
After generations of neglect and deceit by their shepherds, an army of faithful U.S. Catholics is gathering to demand that sexual predators and their enabler bishops be purged from the truth. With the coming resignation of Cardinal Wuerl, faithful Catholics cannot let Wuerl and McCarrick be used as scapegoats. The corruption goes to the top. We have evidence rolling in from Francis's time in Argentina that points directly at his having a long history of ignoring or covering for sexually corrupt priests and bishops, as well as covering for financial corruption. Wuerl and McCarrick can only be the beginning. If we permit ourselves to be taken by these resignations, then we will be complicit ourselves in the further corruption of the Church. Keep fighting. If you can, go to the Baltimore meeting of the USCCB and take part in the protest. If you live in Italy, go to one of Pope Francis's Angelus addresses and add to the number of people yelling "Vigano." Don't let up, but don't let yourself be taken by the spirit of the age. All that having been said, the bishop's annual meeting promises to be historic. With thousands of the lay faithful promising to gather in protest outside of the meeting, I have something to ask of you. If you're planning on being at that protest in November, please record the protest outside and inside if you can get in. Use a GoPro or a better camera if possible. I would love to get that footage from you and post it here. If you can help, please email me. My email is listed in the description. Alternatively, if you think it would be better for me to go, let me know. I can't afford it, so if you think there is support for starting a GoFundMe to send me to Baltimore, let me know. I'm hesitant to do so because it will be expensive. I'm severely underemployed at the moment and can't afford the airfare, the hotel, the Uber rides, and the camera needed to record this event myself. So my hope is that some of you are planning to go to Baltimore and will send me the footage. If one or more of you do go, please be careful. The domestic terror group Antifa loves these kinds of right-wing protests and often show up to fight fascists, which is anyone to the right of Hillary Clinton. Antifa protested a run-of-the-mill Catholic men's conference Church Militant held recently, so they may show up here. And remember, public apologies and changes in official church protocol aren't enough. Nothing but large-scale resignations will do. I'll end with this thought. Wuerl's resignation does have some interesting implications. It's a tacit admission of guilt from Wuerl, but it does create an opportunity for the papacy to deflect and create an image of Francis as a great reformer. It also gives them the opportunity to recast this as a pedophilia problem when it's actually a problem of homosexual predators preying on seminarians and on teenage boys. Don't let them get away with recasting that. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is deadly important. It is no coincidence that Western society has grown more corrupt and Islam has been growing in the Middle East at the same time that the Church has become more worldly. This corruption must be addressed. The consequences of the Pope sweeping this away may be catastrophic. Thank you for listening. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with anyone you think should hear it. You can find me on various social media platforms, including Twitter and Facebook. Viva Cristo Rey.